Hey, Spaceman here. And I'm here with my buddy Dave, who is going to be DMing some tabletop shenanigans for us in the near future. We're doing D&D 5e. So, yeah, Dave made this dope-ass setting for us. So, he's going to talk about it a bit. Right, Dave?
Yes, I will be. Hi, everybody.
Outstanding. Alright, so, yeah, so you made this setting called Eastspire. What's that shit all about?
Yeah, so the overview of the setting is it's a large port city with kind of like Hawaiian, kind of like volcanic island mountains in the area. And dwarves had initially settled the area into the mountains. And then because it was so close to the water, a bunch of humans set up a settlement around the base of the mountain. And then it kind of grew into this full city. And so that's what the kind of setting is this whole setting where it's supposed to be more of a city-based campaign, but we are exploring some of the areas around it.
Sweet. So like what was your inspirations
So
as we go through some of these photos here?
yeah, so the photos were some of it. We had a dwarf game in the past that you were a part of. That was
Yes.
a lot of fun, and looking at a lot of the resources for that, there was some cool descriptions of the gold dwarves in the older edition in 3.5, where they had these like massive fortresses like built into the side of mountains, and like armies could not destroy the front door of this place. Like ancient dragons have a hard time getting in. So I thought that was really cool. So kind of thinking of like what a dwarven settlement would entail and like how well fortified it would be. And then like a lot of the cool terrain of kind of like Hawaii and like other like volcanic areas where you get these kind of beautiful beaches, but also these like sheer cliff faces and like sudden giant mounds of mountain. So it's kind of combining all those, and then you know, balanced a lot of the names and other stuff either through my own creativity or using random generators. And actually, a lot of the game came out because different people were asking for a light and kind of fun game that we could run. So I kind of wanted to have my own setting where I kind of had full control over it, and we could run different things with different groups, or even run the same thing with a bunch of different people at different levels.
Sweet. So we got a pretty big party, right? 7 people want to get in on this shit, including the two of us.
Yes.
So yeah, what's our party looking like? You're running a DMPC, human rouge
Yes.
type, right?
Yeah, so I'm running a human rogue. We'll find him first session. He's a little bit of a helper to the party. He is a local. He's one of the local nobles, kind of playing the vigilante treasure hunter role. So for some of the other people in the party that may not be originally from Eastspire, he should be a font of knowledge for the rest of the party to kind of be like, this is where that is, or
Yeah.
just give basic information.
So we don't get like plot lost.
Plot lost entirely, yeah. So it's a good way to kind of have that self-insert in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm also using a third-party feat from one of the Oriental handbooks. So he has a knife juggler. So he's throwing knives all over the place. So he's kind of a ranged character. So it's trying to fit some help to the party, but also may kind of do his own thing on the tough side at times. You're playing a totally not a Witcher.
Yeah, so I basically played a bunch of The Witcher 3, and while playing that, I thought, how can I make this in D&D? So I figured out the answer to that was largely Ranger, but also a level of Druid. So essentially, you've got this dude who's like very woodland survival-y type, but also has like weird, like primal, like natural magic type shit keeping him going. But yeah, he's basically just this ugly bastard who, goes around fighting monsters and shit. And he's got some beef with a monster in particular that we might run into, from what I understand.
Yep. Then we have our friend Steve, who's playing a Sylvari Eldritch Knight.
Yeah, those are
Uh,
the dudes from Guild Wars 2 there, right? The plant people.
yep. So he's
Yeah,
playing a plant person who is an Eldritch Knight. His character hook, which we'll learn eventually, is around trying to find the origins of his species. because they give some information of how the elves had this druidic ritual that made this living tree, and then the drow tried to stop it, and then a bunch of the elven druids like sacrifice themselves to like repower the tree, and the tree can now create these tree people. So there's this whole weird thing going on. So there's gonna be a whole little side thing on, the secrets to how the Sylvari are created
You
and
know, it's
how they.
funny. That was like a major plot point in the actual game, so it's like it's funny. I know Steve like hasn't played it, so it's funny that that's the sort of route he went.
Yeah, well, it's also in like the source material for the race,
Oh,
so I'm sure
okay.
that's
All
probably
right.
why
Yeah.
he kind of tied into that.
Yeah.
And so we're
What,
kind of going off on like,
what the fuck is this picture? There's there was like a random skeleton in there, just being like, "Okay, you're being a total dick right now," and a peasant stabbing him with a pitchfork.
oh,
But
so fun thing for those that listen to this stream, spoilers later on, there is another adventuring party in the city
oh,
called the
jeez.
Twilight Vigil, and their secretary is a skeleton.
Okay,
So
that's
that's
not
why I kind
weird.
of threw that in there. I'm like, oh, here's that dude. He's kind of a sassy, annoying guy. But yeah,
uh,
so the Sylvari is going to be kind of trying to find the origins of his species and also trying to prevent some other parties from trying to find the same information. Our buddy Zach is playing a very interesting character who's a revenant dragonborn hexblade. So I'm kind of excited for this, considering we had to kind of do some back and forth as the DM and the player. So he is technically starting the game with an intelligent weapon, and that's how he's getting his hexblade packed. And so his backstory is kind of he just rose probably within 2-3 weeks of when the game is going to start, and he dug up his old family heirloom, which is some ancient paladin's sword, and it is intelligent, and it kind of fights him in his undead nature to try to be like, no, don't go on a murder spree. Let's figure out what happened, and like tries to err for moderation versus full on slaughter that he wants to do. So it's kind of an interesting character because I get to throw will saves at him whenever I want to
we
kind of
don't.
be like the
Yeah,
soul that says no.
so he doesn't go full murder hobo.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting. There'll definitely be side quests around him trying to find out who is the actual beacon of hatred that he sees, because like the Revenant hook is essentially they're like the Terminator where they have like.
That one singular purpose.
Yeah. Well, for him, we kind of did. There's like a spectrum of like there's like a glowing beacon of this is the dude,
Yeah.
and then there's a bunch of other little lights of like here are other people associated with your death.
Oh shit.
And so we'll actually find out. I think at some point that it's been like 113 years since he died. So in D&D terms, for humans, that's a long time, but for like
Yeah.
elves and dwarves and other races, they're like, oh yeah, that was like a little while ago.
Yeah.
We have Josh/Gary, depending on
Josh.
name he
His
goes.
name is Josh.
His name's actually Josh, but sometimes it pops up as Gary in the actual stream. He's playing a human paladin. I think a vengeance paladin,
Nice. The best paladin.
and he is hunting down other knights of his order that essentially betrayed them. He follows a god of like knowledge and secrets,
Yeah.
and like some ancient texts got stolen by people that decided to take that knowledge for themselves out of the order, and so he's hunting down essentially his old brotherhood of knights
Brutal.
to get it back. Then we have Jeff, who's playing a Goliath druid, he doesn't have too much of a plot hook yet. His main plot was kind of come into the city and be an advocate for kind of greenways and gardens and bringing nature back into the city.
He's Elon Musk.
Yeah, I mean, to some degree, I mean, he sees the city growing up and kind of being a scar on the land more than being a beneficial hub.
Oh, brutal.
So he's trying to, he understands people live there, so he just wants to make it more natural. And then our buddy Mike, who also goes by Loki, will be playing a dwarf bard. We still have to finish up the character generation for him, but he should be, as he put it, the typical bard who is far more interested in booze, money, and women than he is really in adventuring. So if he happens to help the party, that's great, but he's more interested in those.
There's the skeleton again. Sorry, that shit's funny. So yeah. Um, so that's a pretty big group, like 7 people. When I DM, 6 is usually my hard cap. Like, how do you think
Yeah.
that's gonna go?
So it's probably going to be a little tough, but we are hoping to balance the game between kind of light fun, like role playing of like here's the situation and let people talk it out and figure things out, and then I can just kind of throw in rolls as we need to, and some combat. So hoping that the combat's scaled, that if the whole party's there, it's great. But the other benefit is if people have to miss a week, we're not going to be at a huge detriment because then we can start rolling with 6 or 5 people, and the encounters can scale back 1 or 2 extra monsters or whatever, and then it should be fine.
Cool. Um, so like, what's the plan for the characters? Like, we're mostly based out of the city for the campaign, I assume. Which is funny considering we're doing a city game and we got a ranger and a druid in the party.
Yep, we have a lot of nature bros in the party.
Yeah.
I mean,
Um,
technically, there's a fighter, but he is a tree person, so
he's a magic tree person.
yeah.
Um,
But yeah, I picture a lot of it's going to center around the city, and that's where we're really going to be focused. But if people really want to go somewhere else, they can. I have some of the custom missions for each of players that will take us to some other areas. Like for your character, we know we're going to be going into the Bladed Mountains because you kind of know that's where that monster makes home.
yeah, I'm not gonna find that
Um,
guy in the city.
yeah, and then like in Zach's case, like he knows the burning beacon of hatred is pointing somewhere out to sea, and so he's trying to figure out what's out there and how does he get out there and what he needs to do. So I mean, I'm kind of open to if people are like, I really want to check out this one random little dot on the map. We probably can find a way to do it.
Yeah.
But I feel like probably good, hopefully 80% of the campaign is probably going to be around the city in different locales nearby.
Sweet. Um, so a lot of other games, both you and I and other people have DM'd, we like to do custom items and whatnot. We doing anything like that for this one?
So kind of along with all these backgrounds and custom missions for each person, I'm kind of doing like build out the full custom mission or task for each player. And if they complete it, I'll give them some sort of boon or an item. And some people it's different. Like some people, like they may just get an inherent like racial bonus, or someone else may just get a new item. Don't want them to be as game breaking as some of our old items have been, where it's like here's this uber powered ultimate item that everyone gets. But it should hopefully improve the characters. I think it's kind of around the area of like a +2 armor with some extra fluff or thereabouts as like the measuring stick.
Yeah. So largely around the power of like standard like D&D 5e magic items and whatnot. It seems like. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
continuing on with the custom stuff. Since this is your setting, is there like anything unique to this, or any other surprises in store?
So I went a little off on my own because I'm crazy and I have tons of notes. I have a little binder in front of me that has a whole bunch of notes and stuff for me to reference. There's definitely going to be places and times where if people decide to investigate things and go off on side quests, I have some little secrets and stuff prepared.
Sweet. But so I think I vaguely remember you mentioning like materials or anything like that, or did you axe that?
Special materials, there's some stuff that I put into our main campaign setting. And hold on,
Yeah.
I can actually reference that right now. So there's things like true steel, dwarven craft items. There's some special food around town. There's actually some special, like mini prestige classes that you could go into, but I don't actually picture any of the players going into. But those are kind of fun, so I can go into those for a second. So there's magical leisure domains, which is a 1-level prestige class with some basic requirements. And they give characters a unique set of abilities. And it's mostly to kind of match. You guys are going to walk around town and see people that are in these professions. Like they've essentially trained as an apprentice in this profession and become this type of person. And so I wanted to give the players an opportunity that if they wanted to invest the time to do so, they could
Yeah.
go into one of these. So one is the Litany of Stone, which are kind of these people that go around the city, generally dwarves, and they essentially like maintain the city. So like if there's anything that starts to crack or get some like weather damage, they fix it. So they have a lot of like earth and mending like souped up abilities.
They're super
Um,
masons.
yeah, super masons. Then there's the libationist, which we are likely going to meet a couple in the first session, which are essentially magical bartenders.
Yes.
So they know how to, create magical drinks that do cool animated things. They also have ways of dealing with rowdy bar patrons in ways that no other bartender could.
Sweet.
Then the last one was a polytheist because there's the Cathedral of Faiths, which is supposed to be like this large central cathedral that is all the different, deities that are worshipped in the city.
All the religion.
Yeah, at least most of them. I'm guessing some of the super overtly evil ones, they may
Oh,
be like,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
out of there. But like for most of the population, if it's a common thing to worship, it'll probably be there. So the polytheist was a way for a cleric who's 6th level or higher to be part of that cathedral, and they can actually change their domain once a day.
Huh.
And
That's
that's
pretty.
kind of being like, all right, today we're going to go out into the ocean, so I'm going to worship, one of the storm
Yeah.
domains. Or, we're about to go fight an army one-on-one. Maybe war domain today.
War domain. Yeah. Cool, man. So that's most of the questions, I think.
Yeah,
So we're starting this shit pretty soon, right? Like next Tuesday.
yeah. Next Tuesday we're doing 7:30 start time. Like we have another game that runs opposite of this game. So we're just trying to keep, Tuesdays 7:30 are going to be consistent game nights. We run for about 2 hours per session. We don't really want to go much later than 9:30.
Because we're
So
adults and have 9 to 5 jobs and whatnot.
yeah, then you sleep is wonderful. And I mean, all said, 2 hours per session. If I want to kind of keep it light and fun, hopefully that'll be the right pace
Yeah.
where you guys will be able to get something done and move forward a little bit in the campaign, but not be overwhelmed with like a 6-hour session.
Yeah. All right. So I think that's that. Anything you want to add?
No, I think that is it. I hope people will tune in and watch, and it'll hopefully be fun.
All 12 of my subscribers.
Hopefully, we'll have like 15.
Yes. Awesome. But yeah, thanks for coming on and telling the viewers a bit about Eastspire. And so we got some stuff to look forward to. So we'll see you in game. Spaceman out.